This is how my one-on-one client manifested a full-fledged committed relationship with her specific person. Hey guys, hope you're well, and in this video I'm going to be sharing a beautiful success story with you. This is a success story of my one-on-one client who recently manifested a full-fledged relationship with her specific person. This was a guy she had a hot and cold situation with. So I will be explaining each and everything in this video. I talked about in the last video why your SP is not changing. It's the last video on my channel, you can go and check it out, where I discuss a few things about what you must be doing that your specific person isn't reflecting the change that you're bringing in yourself. And in this video I will be sharing this story of this client who actually applied all these things. She did all these mistakes in the past, and then she applied all these things, she changed these patterns, and then she eventually manifested a full-fledged relationship with her specific person. So let's start by understanding the story. I'm absolutely sure you guys will love it, and I will first start by reading the story with you. So this is the message I got from her. Hey Karan, good morning. So I want to tell you something. Yesterday my SP proposed to me. It was not surprising to me, but yes, I never thought it would happen so fast. I'm happy and feeling proud of myself. The proposal I was waiting for from the last 10 months and never been into a romantic relationship till now because of my past traumas which I didn't know about. And suddenly a proposal from my SP in a month after we started our coaching and in 8 days after I put my boundary for myself, which I didn't know about before. We just worked on my self-concept, no SP affirmations, nothing. Now I know the power of self-love, how important it is to work on yourself, all thanks to you. Thank you so much for giving me this knowledge every day and telling me to focus on myself. Thank you for patiently listening and solving all my queries on a daily basis. I'm happy and excited. More to go. So a lot of meat into the story, and we will dissect all of it. So first, let's start by understanding a little bit more about this client. Let's start by understanding what her past was. I have mentioned before in this success story that she hasn't actually been into a romantic relationship before. So what is her story? So what happened with my client, and this is all before she came to me. So whenever someone signs up with me, I send them a questionnaire where I start to, take in information more about themselves, more about their past and things like that. So this is where she shared this in that questionnaire, and even then later we had a conversation about it on the call where she discussed about this later with me. So what happened with her in the past is that in the past in her life she had been into multiple situationships. Now, when I say situationships, that's a very long term, that's a very wide term. In her situation, it included two kinds of things. The first kind of thing it included is that she used to start liking a person, they start to use to get to a connection, they start to date, and it started to go ahead, and then eventually the guy would say no to commitment. And when the guy would say no to commitment, she would spend her time trying to convince that person of why committing to her would be a good idea. She would either chase this person, she would either run after this person, or she would either, play manipulation power struggle games that, oh, I will not text him, then he will text me, and do all these things. This was one form of situationships for her. The other form of situationships for her was constantly chasing someone who was unavailable. This is how her past looked like. So as she was around 30 years of age, she had never been into a committed relationship before, and all her definition of how relationships are supposed to be were based out of these situations that she has been in the past. Now, one thing that you need to learn about relationships is that there is no school for relationships. For example, I'm right now talking in English. My English wasn't as good as it is now, right? So, when I started talking in English, when there were some things that were not going correct, I was taught in my school that this is how English is supposed to be. And I changed how it should be, and my language got better. The thing is, for any problem to get better, we first need to identify it. We first need to accept that this is a problem. Then we need to know someone who knows a better solution to it. And then we need to apply that solution to that problem, which is what I did with my language. But in her situation and in relationships in general, there is no general idea of how relationships are supposed to be. There is no school where you go and relationships are taught. How you truly learn about relationships is one, through your own surroundings, through the movies, through the books, and through the surroundings that you have, and two, through the experiences that you have. So my experience will tell me what relationships are to me, right? And because there are so many different dynamics and everyone is just basically guessing when it comes to the topic of relationships, there is no expert opinion, just like it is in school in language with the example that I gave. there can be a lot of back and forth. Now, this is where she was, right? This is what had happened with her. Now, moving forward, what her situation with this guy was is that she met this guy, they started dating, they started talking. But as they were moving forward, this guy started telling her that, you know what, even though I want to exclusively date you, I'm not sure if I'm ready for a commitment. In her mind, because she was yearning for that security, she was constantly pushing this guy forward for a commitment. She was constantly texting him, reaching out to him, texting him 5 to 10 times, and eventually this guy pulled away saying that, you know what, you are coming across too strong and I cannot offer you that commitment. I can be in a non-committed relationship with you though, where we can talk, where we can casually hang out. And at this point, my client was coming from a lack of boundaries. In her mind, the idea of relationships was something which wasn't ideal, and because of which she accepted that, right? And this situation was going on in her life for a pretty long time. And this is where she met me. Now, let's understand a few more things about how our mind works, which will be applicable in this situation, and I'm pretty sure it will be applicable in your situation too. So, our mind actually frames things. It starts to create comparisons from where we have been in the past, and it creates our understanding of the world from there. In her situation, what was happening is, first, her definition of relationships were not actually relationships, they were situationships. So in her mind, whenever she would have a connection with someone, it would more often be a situationship, it would not be a relationship. So whenever she would see that connection, even if it is coming without commitment, she would think that this is normal. Number one. Number two, because she had been constantly rejected in the past when it comes to her relationships, or she had rejected herself in the past when it comes to relationships, she assumed that something is wrong with me. That is why I get this treatment. So she also assumed that if I get the lesser part, that is completely fine. This is where her mind believed that I don't truly deserve a relationship. That's why I was constantly pursuing at that time in my past men who were not truly available. Right? So her mind believed that maybe I don't deserve to be in a full relationship in the first place. In the last place, what was happening in the third point is that in her life, because men had not given her commitment, in her mind, commitment had become this huge thing. And because it had become so important to her, she was starting to get connected with the concept of commitment and security. So in her mind, commitment meant security, and because of which she was constantly chasing commitment too fast. So when she met this guy, things were going fine, but she was chasing commitment too fast because she thought, if I get this commitment, I will end up feeling secure. I will end up feeling in control. That she was chasing it too fast. That as the time was moving ahead, she was also ignoring that, she hasn't actually spent that much time with this guy. She hadn't actually worked on herself. She doesn't know what relationships are supposed to be like. So commitment became this pedestalized figure. Commitment became this huge thing. So when this guy was coming and he was, at least open to commitment at the start, she thought in her mind that let me latch on to this. Let me just secure this deal. Otherwise, no one else will ever commit to me. The first thing I will tell you, which I told her, is that getting a commitment is very normal. You are a very lovely individual, and I told this to her, and I'm telling this to you. You are a lovely individual, and I'm pretty sure thousands of people would love to commit to you. Thousands of people would love to give you that commitment. The thing is, when we make a concept of commitment, or when we make the concept of love so big in our mind that we start to feel that this is not for me, I will never get love. That is where we start to settle for lesser, because we feel that the best that we want is not really available, or is not something we will actually get. Because we feel that the best is not available or not something that we will get, we constantly keep on settling for the less, which is what she was doing here, right? When we started talking, I told her that this is where we need to work on three things. First thing we need to work on is our self concept. We added a lot of affirmations of her self concept. She actually practically had nothing else to do other than focus on this relationship. So we added habits outside of the concept of her life in terms of this guy. The second thing that we worked on was her perception of what relationships are supposed to be. We added affirmations like, it is very normal to get into a committed relationship. I allow myself to be in healthy romantic relationships. It's safe to trust men. I feel blessed. We added affirmations in this regard which promoted, and which, if these affirmations were true, promoted the fact that her being in a relationship is a very normal thing. The third thing that we did, and this is very important, is I told her to create a boundary. Now, when I say a boundary, what does that mean? So when we create a boundary, because this is something a lot of people confuse, a lot of times we are creating a boundary from insecurity as a manipulation tactic. So what had happened with her in the past is that she had gotten, tired of constantly settling. So at some point she created a boundary with this person. She told him that, if you cannot offer me that relationship, I'm going to go away. And then after a few days, this guy used to come back, give her some loving words, still without the commitment, and she used to accept it, right? The thing with this kind of boundary is that it's a form of manipulation. It's a manipulation tactic. This boundary is not being put because you want to love yourself and you want to respect yourself. This boundary is put because a part of your mind is feeling that if I put up this boundary, maybe this guy will give me something more. When we put up a boundary because of that reason, that boundary loses its meaning because the intentions behind what we do matters. The intention behind why we create a boundary matters. The thing that I told her is that we need to create a boundary, but we need to create a boundary for you. The intention behind the boundary should be is because you're finally sick of this pattern and you truly want a loving relationship in your life. You truly want to experience a full relationship in your life. That is what we started working on. So what happened with her is that she started to put up a boundary. She told this person that, hey, I have finally realized that at this moment in my life, I'm ready for a full-fledged relationship. I really have feelings for you, but at this time, because you're not really offering me a commitment, I think that it would be best for both of us that at this moment we separate for a while so that maybe later we can experience a friendship in a different way. Now, she didn't use these exact words, but this was the intention. Do you see how this boundary is different from the first boundary that she was putting in? This boundary is for the purpose of working on herself. The other boundary that she was putting in was just to manipulate this person. A combination of self-work, her working on herself, her working on her relationship patterns, being very consistent and putting up boundaries is what led to eventually this guy came to her. He automatically came to her and said that, you know what? And he said her name and said that, I think I'm ready to commit to you. I think I truly feel that there is a connection that I want to explore. And because at this time she was coming from a lot of security, and this time she didn't actually rush into getting into a commitment, she was able to allow this relationship in her life. She just didn't want to sabotage it. She was just so sure that I can allow this relationship in my life. I feel secure enough to know that this relationship will come to me. I feel secure enough to know that eventually, if our connection fits, this guy will come to me. And she was working on herself for her, not just to get a guy, not just to get a relationship. So, to summarize, what we worked on her self concept, her relationship self concept, her boundaries. The self concept part we did primarily through habits and affirmations. The relationship part we did through affirmations and changing her perceptions on a daily basis. The last thing that we did, the reason that we created a boundary was for her. Now, she mentioned this one thing. She said that, Karan, after joining your coaching, I got result in 1 month, which I was struggling for a very long time. Does this mean that I gave her a magic pill? No. There is no such thing as a magic pill. For some people, they receive results fast because they are already in an advanced place in their journey and their situation is different. For some people, it might take some time. If you're doing everything correctly and if everything is aligning with what I have been talking about in my videos and you feel that I'm on the right track, please understand that if you're not receiving results in a month or two, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're doing something wrong. Sometimes the process can be different for two people. So if it is taking a little bit longer for you, there is nothing essentially wrong with that. I don't want to make this a clickbait thing that, oh, I gave her a magic pill so she got her results in a month. That is not something that exists. I gave her the same thing that I give to other people based on their situation. For some people, it takes a little bit of time. For some people, because they are in a slightly advanced place in their journey, and for them it is easier to feel normal and it is easier to work on themselves, they get results faster. Does this always mean that you're doing something wrong if you're taking longer? No. So understand this, guys. Patience, letting go of desperation, working on yourself, creating boundaries, all of this works. That is why I have so many success stories to prove it, right? And I, get so many success stories of people texting me, oh, I got this text from my SP, oh, movement. I don't even post those because I don't really count that as a movement. I don't really count that as a success. What I really think is success is that you have let go of desperation towards this topic, is that you're now secure in this topic, is that you're now coming from confidence in this topic, and then you are able to receive these results from it, which is what I would want for you too. So look for real results, Be patient, work on yourself, focus on letting go of desperations and creating boundaries. Work on you for you, and you will also get similar results in your life. So I will see you guys in the next video. Hope you have a great day ahead, and I will see you soon.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe and share if you like the video. The link for my one-on-one coaching, my self-help courses, and my free newsletter are in the description box below.